There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
The vast majority of the intelligence people have come out and said there's no basis at all.
The allegations against Joe and Hunter Biden have no basis in fact.
Who do you think is behind this?
Well, the Russians would be my number one guess.
Obviously, Russia would be the chief suspect.
This information Rudy Giuliani is peddling very well could be connected to some sort of Russian government disinformation campaign.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the ridiculous laptop owned by Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, that has just now been authenticated by the New York Times after it had already been reported and authenticated by the New York Post back in October of 2020, almost 2 years ago. Now, there's quite a few questions that comes from this. The first thing would be, what was on the laptop? Why was it so important to hide and suppress and block for all this time? And then also, how was a laptop found? How was it recovered? Where did it come from? Now, first things first, what's on the laptop? Great question. Glad you asked. Now, Hunter had a bunch of emails on this thing that were really like not secure at all. And there were two main issues that arose from the emails and also photos found on his hard drive. The photos of himself that are really weird were of him smoking crack. Okay. And also some adult type situations going on that I won't get into right now because we got little kids watching. But the main thing was him being a whole crackhead. It's documented right there on his hard drive. You probably seen him floating around the internet, him with no shirt on and butt out and whatnot, smoking crack, a whole crackhead. Now, he was discharged from the military for drug abuse, probably because he got smoking crack in the military. He continued to smoke crack outside of the military. He was also probably on drugs when he went to the border of Burisma Holdings in Ukraine. That's the next thing that was discovered on a laptop. So apparently back in 2015, there was an email exchange, or before that, probably 2015 actually, when Hunter introduced the head of this company to his father, Joe. Now, like a year or so after that, here comes Hunter getting a nice cushy job on the board of Burisma Holdings, getting paid $50,000 a month. Now, Hunter has no prior experience in any kind of energy sector, electric, gas, oil, nothing, no prior experience. And he's a whole crackhead who got discharged from the military for smoking crack. And there's evidence of him on a laptop smoking crack. So how are you able to get that kind of job, making that kind of money in Ukraine? Is it because there's some corruption going on? Is it because it's like a certain somebody said that Ukraine is kind of a puppet state of the West? Okay. Joe Biden himself went before the Council on Foreign Relations. I forget when it was, might have been 2016 or so, and bragged about how he went to Ukraine and told them to fire a certain prosecutor. And if they didn't fire the prosecutor, they would not get $1 billion in loan guarantees.
I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
So they're basically extorting Ukraine. He said it on videotape. That wasn't even in the laptop, but it just kind of goes with it. He did not talk about his son's deal in public, but that was in the emails. You see how it kind of links together? So Ukraine is basically getting extorted. And also the prosecutor, this guy was looking into Burisma Holdings and could have gotten that company hemmed up. So if the prosecutor is allowed to stay, Burisma Holdings may go away. Therefore, there's no big payday for Hunter. You see how that works? So basically what Joe did was go to Ukraine to keep his son's job, allegedly. That's what it looks like. So that's pretty damaging, and that's probably why they wanted to hide that from the public. You see, when people ask Jen Psaki and whatnot about this, they say, oh, well, Hunter's not in government, talk to X, Y, and Z person. They try to deflect. But it's not even really about Hunter himself being in the government. It's about what he did by being Joe Biden's son, by using Joe Biden to get money in Ukraine, also probably Russia, China, etc. I think he was in Moldova or somewhere too. He was all over Eastern Europe, which Kennedy of Fox News called, a cesspool, Eastern Europe. She called it a cesspool when Giuliani went there with the laptop. I'll talk about that in just one moment. But it's funny how they call Eastern Europe a cesspool. Don't believe what comes out of there. But now it's all about fight for Ukraine. We love Ukraine. Ukraine forever, all this, that, and the third. Funny how that works. Funny how politics work. People just switch up how they feel on a moment's notice. But I digress. Now, why did they hide it? How did they hide it? Let's go back to 2019. And I'm going to bring it all the way back to Giuliani and Fox and everywhere else. Now, in 2019, what Hunter did was allegedly drop his water-damaged laptop. It was a MacBook Pro. He left it at a repair shop in Wilmington, Delaware, where he lives. Also, where he probably grew up and where his dad lives. So he dropped the laptop off, and he never picked it back up. I think he paid for it, or maybe he didn't. I'm not really sure, but it just was sitting there, not picked up. So the owner realizes, hey, I got Hunter Biden's laptop here. I need to call the federales. So he calls the feds, and they come get it in December of 2019. So the feds have the laptop. They could investigate, but maybe your man Jim Comey and all the people that maybe don't want to do it because it'll make their guy look bad. Because, okay, it's 2019. The election is coming up. We didn't want to have this get out there and make Joe Biden look bad. But before the owner called the feds and had them come pick it up, before he did that, he made a copy of the hard drive. So he kept the copy of the hard drive and gave it to Rudy Giuliani's lawyer. I think his name is Bob Costello. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments. But he gave it to the lawyer. So the lawyer gives it to Giuliani. Giuliani gives it to the New York Post. They go through it. They authenticate it. And then they put the story out in October of 2020. Now, remember, the election is in November of 2020. So the story came out right before the election. And what happened? Every news outlet, they discredited it. 51 intelligence experts said that this story is probably Russian disinformation. It's fake news. It's not really real. If you put the story on Twitter, your account may have been totally deleted. They censored the story, all of that good stuff. Now, why would they block a thing that came from a good source like New York Post? Understand this. The New York Post is a very old newspaper, very well respected. They've been around since 1801 or 1802, like basically 1800, 220 years ago. They've been around. The paper is owned by News Corp, Rupert Murdoch, who also owns Fox News. This is not some kind of ragtag, ridiculous organization. Very well known, very well respected. They do due diligence, they authenticate, and they put the story out there. But you cannot publish it on a place like Twitter or you'll be banned or the story will get blocked. Even Jack Dorsey came out and apologized for this, talking about that was the wrong move. But I mean, too little too late now, right? Because the story came out right before the election and it could have impacted the election. Now, the thing they said on Twitter was we can't publish stolen documents, but who knows if it was stolen or not? How are you going to say that? And if you do have that policy, then how about Trump's tax returns? How did that get out there to the public? Do you think Trump put it out there or someone took it from him illegally and published it illegally? But there was no problem putting that out there. Christine Blasey Ford talking about what Brett Kavanaugh did to her wound up being a whole big lie. Okay, but they still put her on the cover of Time magazine even after the fact that was discovered. So they play around, they play games, they put out whatever they want to put out whenever they want to put it out for a particular purpose. And then Giuliani went to Fox, and you guys may not have seen this, but I saw it because I covered this story very closely. Right when I covered everything about it. Now, he went on Fox News and he was talking to Kennedy, one of the anchors. Kennedy was talking about, how you know this is real? It came from Eastern Europe. It's full of garbage, Eastern European trash, all this, that, and the third. He was livid. I'm talking about heated.
Some could say that you were acting like Christopher Steele, that you were abstracting information, and because...
You got to be kidding me. I was acting like Christopher Steele?
That's what it sounds like. When you look at the people that...
You better apologize for that. I mean, I've been a United States Attorney, Associate Attorney General, Mayor of New York City, and a member of the bar for 50 years. I've never been accused of anything. And you're accusing me of being Christopher Steele?
I'm accusing you of
That's
acting in a
outrageous that you would do that based on nothing.
To...
MS-13, DNC, ABC, CBS, Fox even were trying to say it's not real, it's not a true story. all because they were trying to help Joe Biden win the election. That's it. That's all. They had no problem putting out things about Trump during the 2016 campaign and the 2020 campaign, talking about he's being helped by Russia, that they spied on Trump, lied on Trump, put out all kind of fake information, put out his tax documents, all that good stuff, right? But then when this true story from New York Post comes out, again, very old paper, been around 220 years, authenticated, all that stuff, then they say, oh, well, now we can't put that out. That's stolen information. Okay, now we're talking about election integrity. It's one thing to talk about the voting machines. I feel like that's kind of like, that's almost elementary. Not to discredit that at all, because it is important, but there's a bigger issue going on here when the mainstream media are blocking information from getting out there to the public. When you can't even publish a story about Hunter Biden's laptop with Hunter on it smoking crack and some shady business dealings, okay? Some are going to say, well, it doesn't really matter. Hunter's not in the government. Yes, it does matter because he's tied in with the government because of his father. When he brings his father to Ukraine to have him talk to the guy of Burisma Holdings, and then the next year he goes to Ukraine talking about, hey, man, if you don't fire that guy, remember, he's the vice president at this time. Hey, man, if you don't fire that guy, you won't get this money. The same guy that was looking into Burisma Holdings, which is his son's company that he worked for, with no prior energy or gas experience. Nothing at all. He just happens to be on the board getting 50 grand a month to do what? To just because the vice president says so. Basically, we all knew this story was right and true from the very beginning. And it wasn't even the story like they came out and just issue a retraction or an apology. It was not even the lead of the story. They were talking about Hunter and his problems he has, which he has myriad of problems. It wasn't even about the laptop specifically. That was buried deep in the article, talking about, yeah, like they had to kind of use wormy language to say that the laptop was legitimate. It was a byproduct of the article. It wasn't even the main point of the article, which it should have been. That's one of the biggest stories of the past few years, yet they buried it. Your mainstream media sucks. They all tell lies. They all tell stories. They manipulate you. They gaslight you. This is why we don't watch them anymore. You go to alternative media, not just me, but guys like myself, foreign news. It's to the point now where I almost trust foreign state media more than our own media. That's really a shame. But it is what it is. I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How you feel about this whole story of Hunter Biden's laptop? We all knew that it was real from the beginning, but the mainstream media said it wasn't. Does this help your trust of the media or lack thereof? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This just confirms what I've already known for a long time, that the mainstream media cannot be trusted at all, point blank, period. It doesn't matter if it's left or right. The mainstream media sucks. It really does. They have their own motives. They have their own little back channels and things they want to get going on. That's what it's about. It's not really about putting out real information. It's not about helping the American people. It's not about being honest and integrity, nothing like that. It's about helping themselves. And it's really quite a shame, but it is what it is. Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.